Hey everybody, this is Cameron from Obnoxious and Anonymous, and welcome to the party that is the Twin Peaks 2017, Twin Peaks The Return, Twin Peaks The Next Generation, whatever we want to call it, watch-along for episode 5, again. No, this isn't Groundhog's Day. No need to readjust your set. This is indeed happening again. Today is what I like to call a redo, or a redux, as Francis Ford Coppola would say. For those of you who weren't here for the horrifying debacle that was yesterday's live streaming, and for those of you who will be watching this video moving forward, allow me to explain a little bit of what happened. So I began the live watch along yesterday, and everything was going great. Then about 5 minutes into the actual episode, for some reason, the YouTube live stream just cut out and just went black. It's a good thing it didn't happen when the doppelgänger, hung up the phone later in the episode. But anyway, it freaked out everybody watching online. Nobody could get a hold of me because I was doing the watch along, and I had no idea that the video had cut out. So imagine my surprise after talking for an hour straight and giving what I considered the best solo, commentary watch along that I've done so far, in my humble opinion. I went back to the chat to engage with everybody and talk about everything, and nobody was there. In fact, the last comment was given like right after the opening credits. So I had done all that for nothing. It was a huge bummer. I was sad the rest of the night. I had considered doing it again last night, but I was so drained after doing everything, and then obviously being deflated by YouTube, that I just decided, you know what, let me just get some sleep and I'll do it again tomorrow. Yesterday was definitely a reminder that technology is a friend and also an enemy, and we need to keep that in mind. YouTube has already been giving little blips and hiccups before I started this podcast. I checked everything. It is not my connection. It is the site itself. So if at any point this live video goes kaput again, I'm going to do my best, obviously, to keep track of it, but because it's just me solo again, please, my email is in the show notes. Send me an email ASAP and it will come up, because I don't want to talk for another hour if it's not recording. It was kind of a shame because I was so proud of it yesterday. I was like, oh my goodness, I got everything in that hour, that 60 minutes amount of time. And no, none of you guys heard any of it. So that was just a real bummer. But yeah, so we're going to do it again today. And I'm really excited. I'm really amped. Figure yesterday was the dress rehearsal. Today is the real thing. So, people have asked me, Cameron, what are the watch-alongs? Isn't it just like a commentary? And like I was saying yesterday, because a watch-along, it's funny that people are asking about this because this is like the 5th one we've done. But anyway, for those of you who are new, let me explain it. A commentary to me is something that is done after the fact, that what everything is, and you've had some time and distance to reflect on it, and you can talk about it. I consider these watch-alongs different because we haven't seen the whole 18-hour movie yet. And even after we see the whole thing, we'll probably need a few months to digest it as one, whole piece, and then we can go back and look at it more as like an entire film. And so that is something you could do a commentary on. But these episodes, I can talk about what I see in the episodes and what I can, figure out from the episodes, but that doesn't mean that it's concrete. We've seen what this show is like after 5 episodes. Episode 6 could just completely take it off in a whole other direction, and everything I say tonight could be just nothing. So I consider these videos where you and I watch the show together, and we can discuss it. And just have some fun. You know, we're huge Twin Peaks fans. I like to say that this channel and these videos are for the hardcore of the hardcore Twin Peaks fans, and you guys here in the live chat, you definitely are that. So thank you so much for joining me again. I appreciate it. I'm doing this one, for those of you who are watching after the fact, I'm doing this video a little earlier than some of the others. I had the day off. So I was hoping that maybe some people who normally can't join on these watch-alongs and other live videos, I figured I'd open it up a little bit so maybe some other people could come in and enjoy them as well. But everybody who watches these videos, I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much for being so kind with your support and you know, your kind words. And these are just a lot of fun. And you guys are the reason why I keep coming back and doing these. Obviously, I mean, I love the show. I you know, just adore everything about it. But you know, if it was just like me fighting an uphill battle against some of the other crazies that I've seen in the online fandom community, might not want to engage as much as I do. But because you guys are so awesome, I like to put up several videos a week, and I'm glad you guys are all here to engage with them as well. Okay, so yesterday I did kind of an introduction before to kind of get people situated in terms of the video, and but I ended up using that for uploaded it yesterday about the protocol that I have for talking about Twin Peaks episodes after they've officially aired. So I don't have another introduction for you today. So we're going to get right into the episode, actually. Yeah, I'm really excited about this. Using the Showtime app, or the Showtime streaming thing. So if you want to get situated, let's get going. If you guys throw anything out in the chat, just so you know, it's just me here tonight. So I can't monitor the live stream, Showtime, and the chat. So talk amongst yourselves about everything. And then after the show, I will come back to the chat and engage with all you guys and go through a lot of your comments, and we'll take it from there. So thank you for being so patient with me. I really appreciate it. All right, so let's get going. A reminder, I say this all the time, but it helps with syncing. Showtime has that silly 1-minute commercial beforehand. So, you know, just keep that in mind when we hit play. And yeah, so we'll get situated and started in 1 second here. This episode is episode 5 of season 3, or like I said, Twin Peaks 2017, Twin Peaks: The Return, or as I'm now thinking of it, Twin Peaks: The Next Generation. Anyway, it is written by Mark Frost and David Lynch, and of course was directed by David Lynch. It is called Case Files. All right, so I'm going to start this episode here in about 10 seconds, and let's do this. We have 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Hit play. All right, so Showtime presents. And like I was saying yesterday, we get this commercial for the Jim Carrey stand-up show, which I don't know. I mean, it doesn't. Does it look good to you guys? To me, it just looks like another Vinyl. You know, that show that Martin Scorsese produced for HBO. I can't see this lasting too long, but you never know. It doesn't really appeal to me, and I like the world of stand-up comedians. So I don't know. To each his own, I guess. But I guess we'll see when it comes out. All right, so here we go. Showtime. It is definitely Showtime. Now, I've asked people before, but I'm going to throw it out to you guys again. The Rancher Rose logo here. A lot of people have told me that it changes color with each episode. Maybe it does something else too. I don't know, but let me know if you recognize what it does from episode to episode. All right, so we have... obviously, Laura Palmer's picture comes in before it dissolves to the woods. Now, some people have told me that Cheryl Lee is listed in the credits because of that picture every episode, and that may be true. But this episode also has Cheryl Lee's scream at one point in the background when they show the doppelganger and Bob together. So that's probably why she was credited for this episode. But maybe she's credited because of that picture as well. But I love these opening credits. The fact that they can take Angela Badalamenti's score and give us a whole new opening credits, but give us the same vibe and feeling and texture as the previous seasons. That's a wonderful thing. But they're also giving us new imagery, obviously here with the red drapes flowing and the zigzag floor, and so they're giving us something new but old. It's kind of just the best of both worlds. I'm not trying to quote Hannah Montana there, just so you know. All right. Now, this episode begins in Las Vegas with a rather long black sequence before it fades in. All right, so we go from all these lights, the lights of the city. Vegas is the city in the desert, and then we move from there to the Rancho Rosa sign, and you will notice that it is lit so that we see the double R in circles, or in one circle, I should say. We're reintroduced to these guys who try to assassinate Dougie. They're hired by a woman named Lorraine, who we don't know much about here, but she is concerned that she's going to get killed if they don't kill Dougie. If you look on her table, you will notice there are some dominoes, I should say. And that is going to be a recurring image throughout this episode. You'll notice the phone. There's kind of one of those old school phones, which again may suggest that the whole Rancho Rosa Vegas section takes place at an earlier time, or maybe in an alternate world. Also, the fact that she pulls out a BlackBerry, and notice the bruise on her face, and there's bruises on a couple characters, at least in this episode as well. We'll get to that in a second. She types in a number, and let's see where it goes from here. Oh yeah, so she dials this black box that we will see later in the episode. It's revealed that this box seems to exist in Buenos Aires, Argentina. Now, what's interesting is that when we go up to the numbers, there's a 2, a 1, a 5, and a 9. And if you add 2 and 1 together, it's 3. And if you add 9, 5, and 1 together, it turns out to be 15. So 315 yet again. Then we cut to the doctor talking to the police officers about this body. She finds a ring inside the stomach that says, "To Dougie with love, Janie E." And of course, Janie E is the Naomi Watts character. So this either is Major Briggs' decapitated body, which is crazy if that is true, but it makes a lot of sense considering we saw his decapitated head, or his disembodied head floating in space. Or it could be Dougie's body with Major Briggs' prints, which would make sense as well. The doctor does say, you guys should start with the wife. Look at the wife here, which is interesting because Principal Hastings is currently in jail for this murder. And we don't hear anything about the Matthew Lillard character again, at least in this episode. So it's interesting they say start with the wife, and none of the police say, well, we already have a guy in jail for this. So anyway, hopefully that will come back into play. All right, so here we go. The doppelganger is in the holding cell. This scene, of course, made me super happy because it does finally show the naysayers out there that Bob is in the doppelganger. I thought that was pretty apparent just from the ending of season 2. I had a lot of people argue with me online that, the doppelganger Bob probably left the doppelganger within the 25 years. And I said, yeah, but they're not going to do something like that off screen unless, it was a major plot thing. And so far, I felt that Bob was still in the portrayal of the doppelganger, so that Kyle was doing. So I was always assumed that the Bob was in there. Anyway, I do love the fact that Lynch really likes to show the process of things. He doesn't just do a cutaway shot and the police officer brings him the food. We see him walk down the hallway. Later on the episode, we'll see, the timing between 2 cars as they pull up to the same house. Lynch just loves watching things happen from here to there. It's just one of his traits. Now we have the doppelganger looking in the mirror, and of course, everyone at this moment knows what's coming. Twin Peaks mirror shots. We know Bob is there. We cut away to the finale in the Red Room. There you hear Laura scream. You see the doppelganger and Bob laughing over and over again. It's a great image. And then we get this. I like this cutaway too, where it's like not cutaway, but jump cut. You have Cooper hitting his head into the mirror, and then that's when it would cut to Harry and Doc Hayward, but instead they cut that out and they just made a jump cut and Bob's in the mirror. It's really cool. And then we have this beautiful and sublime CGI rendering of Frank Silva inside Kyle, and they do it just subtly enough that it's brilliant. It's very cool. And it says, "You're still with me." And a lot of people are saying, well, no, it's the doppelganger asking Bob, you're still with me, Bob? When I think it's the opposite. It seems to me that Bob is asking the doppelganger, are you still with me? Are we still on the same side? And I definitely think they are. Yeah, so Bob, I think can, come and go, but I think he can be also summoned at any time, much like, a genie in a bottle. All right, now we cut to Mike Nelson. It's so funny reading a lot of people's online discussions about these episodes in websites, because they don't even know who Mike Nelson is, a lot of them. And these people get paid to write about Twin Peaks, which is ridiculous. Anyway, he is talking with Steven, who is, I don't know if he's dating or if he's married to Becky Barnett, who, of course, is Shelley's daughter. But here he is applying for a job and apparently is awful at it. And Mike, just lets him have it, lets him know that he needs to update his resume and, be more accountable for his appearance and his behavior. And Steven here just looks like some cracked out heroin addict or something. But anyway, it's great to see Mike. He was once upon a time a young punk as well, but him and Bobby never look scuzzy like Steven does. So he's just like, what the hell, but it's just great to see him again. I'm glad that he has matured, at least it appears that way. All right, next we get Frank Truman, and he's talking to his brother Harry, and Harry is still sick, but he's going through some tests, and guess we'll see what happens there. But I'm telling you, this scene makes me think that there is a Harry S. Truman cameo coming by the end of the series. I mean, I could be wrong, but if they just didn't want to deal with him, they would just say, he's sick at the beginning, and then at the end say, oh, he's feeling better. But they keep bringing him up in this series, and I just feel like, if you keep bringing a gun into the scene, you're going to eventually have to shoot it, right? So I just get the feeling that Harry S. Truman will make an appearance at some point in the series. At least that's just what it feels like. Okay, so Candy Clark comes in. She's playing Frank's wife, Doris. We had seen some behind the scenes pictures of them together. So I guess they do have a scene together. Now, these two actors, these are old school performers. They've, they probably worked together a few times in their past. And so it's just wonderful that Lynch is able to take actors that, may not get the biggest roles today and really put them in a spotlight scene. I mean, the whole show stops for however long the scene is to focus on these two actors. It's only two camera angles, and Lynch just lets them, play, and it works very well. So I've seen some people online criticize Candy Clark's performance, saying it's over the top, but trust me, if you've gone to enough dinner parties as I am, you've seen this scene in real life many, many times. But Robert Forster, I think, is wonderful. And I think the reason why people are really gravitating towards him, besides the fact that, he's a wonderful actor and it's a very nice performance that he's giving so far in the series, is the fact that he's not playing Harry S. Truman. I mean, if he was, we deal with it, but he's not, which is wonderful. That allows the viewership to really like him even more, because we know he's not trying to be Harry. He's not trying to act like Michael Onkeen. He's Frank Truman. And that I think that works out really well. It gives the viewers a chance to really identify with him. Okay, so now we cut back to the Dougie storyline. We notice that Sunny Jim is in red. We notice the little trees over here, even though they're not, they do look like little bonsai trees. Naomi Watts' blouse, it may be flowers, but from this angle, it does look like a bunch of red balloons. And balloons is another thing that's going to come up in this episode again and again and again. If you notice Sunny Jim on one of these cuts, you'll notice that he does blink backwards, which is another indication that something squirrely is happening in Rancho Rosa. And then out of nowhere, this amazing, touching shot where a tear comes down Kyle's face. It's so haunting. It's so sad. And we don't really know why he's crying. Is he crying at Sunny Jim, at the happiness of it? Is he crying because, his life hasn't gone the way he wanted it to go? Right now we don't know, but it is amazing. We didn't expect Dougie Cooper to be crying or have a tear. And so that's what just takes us out of it and makes us compelled to care about him even more. Now here we have Naomi Watts playing Janie. And, she asks him, where's your car? And of course she knows right at this moment that Dougie was cheating on her, because look at this look she gives him. Oh yeah. No man ever wants to have a woman look at him like that. That's for sure. She is aware that Dougie is a cheat. And as we see later in this episode, Dougie is definitely somebody that a lot of women apparently want to get with, which if you see Dougie in episode 3, you can't understand why, but all right. Anyway, the would-be assassins pull up and notice that Dougie's car is still parked there at the house. And if you notice across the street at the crack mom's house with the little boy, you'll see a patriarchal cross on the house. I don't know what the significance of that is. I tried to Google it, but it is interesting that there is like a double cross hanging on their house in an area that is, has a lot of King Arthur references to it, right? He lives on Lancelot Court, down from Merlin's Market, the Sycamore Street, that kind of thing. And again, like Lynch did with the police officer, he's showing just the process. So the one car goes down the road, and then the camera pans to the right, and we see these now car thieves coming up to check out Dougie's car, because apparently they've been staking this out. I know when this episode 3 started, a lot of people were saying that this was a new housing development and that Dougie was trying to sell the house and that type of thing. Well, obviously it's not, right? Because there's foreclosure signs all over this place. So if this is a foreclosure type of neighborhood where people have left en masse, then maybe this isn't 2003. Maybe this is around 2006, 2007, because Blackberries still were around, and that's when the housing bubble started to crash. You did see Dougie's license plate says 03. Some people have told me no, that is 2003, and other people say no, that's March. Standing there for the 3rd month. All right. So Janie says to Dougie here, I think you're having one of your episodes. And it's like, well, what episodes did Dougie have? She obviously doesn't think anything's really wrong with him, or else she would be taking him to the doctor, right? But nobody in this show wants to take Dougie to the doctor. They all kind of just tolerate his standing about and looking clueless, and makes you wonder, what would Dougie need to do in order for people to try to get him some real help? But I think Kyle MacLachlan is absolutely wonderful playing Dougie. I know some people have told me that they're tired of the Dougie storyline and they just want Cooper to be back. And, it's like Hannibal Lecter said, all good things to those who wait. Now, if you look to the left right here, you see 6 red balloons as Cooper looks at this statue of this lawman. And again, it's much like the tear. It's very touching, with him just holding up his hand, simulating the lawman. Of course, he'll be looking at the statue over and over again throughout this episode. But again, there's red chairs in the background, red balloons, at least 6 of them that I can see. And they just seem to be everywhere. Wherever Kyle is going, there are red balloons. It's pretty wild. And obviously he's going to just follow the pistol to his work. All right, so this is obvious. This is also when the Badalamenti score kind of starts to kick in, and I know for a lot of people that was a highlight moment of this episode. They really felt that Badalamenti had kicked in. Some people felt that Mark Frost's writing kicked in, and they felt like his touch. I mean, I've felt their touches throughout this series so far, but for a lot of casual viewers, that they started to get more excited by this episode, while some other people didn't like this episode as much. It's interesting, but you'll see that when you see as we continue to watch this episode, you'll see that this episode is just as good as the others. It's just a little different. Now, one of the assistant guy says, off in Dreamland again, huh, Dougie? And, this is coming after last week's episode where Janie calls Dougie Mr. Dreamweaver. So there's something definitely squirrely going on. This is either an alternate reality, a constructed universe, or it's in the past. I can't see this taking place at the same time. And if it is, I'll be surprised. One viewer named Dallas really dislikes the assistant. His reasoning, I thought this was interesting, is that he said that the way he's holding the coffee, you can tell that the actor is using the coffee as props as opposed to acting like there's real coffee in there. He's not portraying the weight of having 8 coffees, holding them. And, it didn't really bother me, but I can see if you are a stickler for that kind of stuff, yeah, maybe you can tell that they're kind of empty. But again, maybe everything's manufactured in this world, so who knows? And of course, Cooper, drinking the coffee like a madman here is quite funny. You can see just his desire to get every bit of that coffee. Again, Lynch and Frost are giving us what we want, Agent Cooper and coffee, but they're giving it to us in a way that we never expected to see, and that just makes it wonderful. Okay, now, the insurance company that Dougie works for is on the 7th floor, and the company is called Lucky 7 Insurance. Now, I just want to say that a viewer named Allison contacted me and said that the 7 logo that we see here is the same one that is on the coffee cups that Tracy is carrying in episode 1. Haha, that might be something to look into. All right, so it looks like Cooper's about to attack that couple for their coffee as well. But I like how they, say "damn good Joe" instead of "damn good coffee." Again, it's just playing with fan expectations. To me, it's wonderful. But yeah, that's fascinating. There's so many 7s in this episode as well, and in the series altogether. All right, so we come to this boardroom meeting, and here comes Tom Sizemore playing his typical likable self. He's definitely an actor who has had his ups and downs over the years, but it's wonderful to see him in the David Lynch universe. Tom Sizemore, he is someone who could have played Frank Booth. I feel he's a wonderful actor, but he's got a dangerous presence, as anyone who's seen Natural Born Killers or even Saving Private Ryan can attest. Now, I love this boardroom. I love the characters here. Lynch and Frost really kind of go out of their way to kind of give them each one like distinct personalities. They're not just like, nameless people sitting around a table. Obviously this guy's trying to cheat on his wife, and this girl just says, tell it to your wife, Darren. And of course, she's giving him crap about him wanting to cheat with her, and he's married. But of course, later on, she'll hit on Dougie, even though she knows he's married. I want to give a shout out to this actor coming up who plays Frank. His name is Bob Stevenson. He, I think, just gives a wonderful performance. It's a small role, right? But it's not. But what's the line? There's no small roles, just small actors. And yeah, this is definitely. I mean, he took this little part, quote unquote, little part, and made it something big. The way he just is so sad that Dougie's drinking his coffee and he has to get the green tea. I just think it's adorable, and he's frustrated, he's sad, he's trying to make the best out of a situation, but he sniffs the green tea. Oh, it's hilarious. He's just he tries to he kind of likes it. All right. So there's so many emotions at play here, and I just think that this actor Bob Stevenson just really hit a home run. Maybe Frank comes back later with the smile he has, and Sizemore's just checking it out like, what the hell am I in? All right, now I want to give a shout out here too. Viewer Holly says, if you look behind the boss when he was signing the papers, there was two signs on the wall. One of them that she pointed out is a red balloon on a road picture, and the other one I want to point out is there's 4 dice in the other picture. And one thing that's really interesting is that the dice, if you add up the numbers that they show us, it comes out to be 16. Now, here's the thing that's really bizarre. So the dice on the wall picture says 16, or adds up to 16. There are 16 new claims that are about to be filed. Later on, we will learn that there are 16 hits on Major Briggs' fingerprints. We'll learn about that later. And this actor who plays the boss is named Don Murray. And I looked into him, and what's really peculiar is he hasn't acted in 16 years. So, I mean, it's just wild. I mean, is it coincidence? Maybe. But when you have this many coincidences, right, we must always pay strict attention, is what Agent Cooper says. And I couldn't agree more. Now, they're talking about arson here. And of course, that immediately reminds us of the Packers sawmill. Now, obviously, it's not the Packers sawmill, but just the fact that we're discussing arson again in the world of Twin Peaks, that just kind of brings it back home. Before Dougie told Michael Madsen that he was lying, of course, we see a little green light go over Madsen's face. Or I'm sorry, Michael Madsen, Tom Sizemore. What the hell am I saying? Yeah, so obviously, I can't believe Dougie even wants to mess with Sizemore's character. Sizemore will kill him more than those assassins will, that's for sure. But yeah, I mean, it's a good thing that woman is standing guard at the bathroom later in the episode, because Sizemore would probably go in there and kick his ass. So yeah. And just the way he just says, Dougie. Yeah, Kyle's better watch out. Okay, so they bring Dougie into the boss's office, and we'll notice in the background his name's Bushnell Mullins, and he was a former boxer. And of course, that makes us think about Chet Desmond and the boxing scene in Fire Walk With Me. You'll notice on Bushnell's desk there is another die, and of course, this makes Bushnell says the thing about, "Are you calling my best agent a liar?" And this, of course, makes Kyle say agent twice. And of course, that almost brings a tear to my eye. The fact that he's like, agent. Oh, it's beautiful. But unfortunately, Dougie, or Cooper as Dougie, just has no clue what the heck's going on, and he gets stuck with a bunch of homework. Take all these files and process them, and depending on how much work you put into them will determine your place in the workplace tomorrow. And of course, Dougie couldn't care less. He's too busy trying to figure out that he's Agent Cooper. But oh, poor Dougie. I hope he doesn't lose his job and Naomi Watts tries to kill him. Probably will happen though. But anyway, we get the name of this episode, Case Files, as well. All right, so then we get Dougie standing in the middle of the room needing to pee. Second time he has peed in 25 years. But I just love that cutaway to him just standing in the hallway. And she's like, "Come here, I'll sneak you in the ladies' room." And of course, she makes sort of a pass at him, saying, "No, you can kiss me." And look at Kyle's face here. I mean, he is really that tension in his facial muscles. He must have drank a bunch of coffee beforehand so he could get into character, because that's not something that's easily acted to flinch your face muscles that much. So he probably really had to go to the bathroom. Good for Kyle, being a method actor. Wonderful. But yeah, I wonder what her story is. She's definitely up to no good. Even though she finds Dougie having to pee uncontrollably funny. All right, so we're back at the Silver Mustang Casino, and we are introduced to the Mitchum brothers, played by Robert Knepper and Jim Belushi. And they are here to confront the casino manager because Dougie Cooper has walked away with $425,000 from this casino. And obviously they think that the casino manager was in on it, and he knows it. Look at that face. He's terrified. this scene reminded me a little bit of Mr. Eddie in Lost Highway, but I think that that scene in Lost Highway with Mr. Eddie kind of plays itself as sort of dark comedy. This doesn't really feel like dark comedy. This is just crime melodrama, but it works. Nepper and Belushi make a good team. They make a good pair. At first I was thinking, okay, is which one's the boss, which one's the henchman? Is maybe Nepper's Joe Pesci and Jim Belushi is De Niro, but they seem to be a pair. Not one has jurisdiction over the other. So I think they work really well so far. And of course the cutaway shots to the showgirls, definitely a Lynch moment here. Yeah, I mean, it's like something out of On the Air or Mulholland Drive or something. Just those just the fact that there's just 3 showgirls just standing there in the background while the guy's just getting kicked and hit. It's definitely, and of course they're all they all look dreamy and spacey. It's definitely a Lynch touch, and I love when we find ourselves in Lynch land. But yeah, I think that I hope we see more of these 2 guys. I don't know in what respect we will, but I hope that they aren't here just for a couple scenes. I will say though that it is good to see them also, because these 2 actors were on the press tour before the show started, and it took 5 episodes for them to get here. So hopefully they have more of a role than this. But there's some actors that were really hyped up for the show, and they've already come and gone. So I guess we will see soon enough. But when Jim Belushi says leave town, oh, you believe him. It's nice to see Belushi though in a real role again. Not that the sitcom isn't a real role, but you know what I mean, like Salvador and other movies that he did in the 80s. The Principal. I really liked him in the 80s. But this poor guy, he's now been promoted to be casino manager, and he does not look like he wants the job. But what is he going to do? He's just hoping to God that Mr. Jackpots never comes back. Okay, so we cut back to Dougie's car, and we see that the explosive is still there underneath the car. And we are reintroduced to the crack mom and the little kid. You'll notice again the red balloon or red ball in the background, and the little boy is about to walk outside. Now, when I first saw this, I was thinking, oh my goodness, are they gonna restage that scene from The Untouchables? That boy gonna walk over and blow himself up, which doesn't happen, but that's the feeling I got. The second feeling I got was that he was going to get hit by a car as he crossed the street, which doesn't happen either. But you get the feeling that there is danger about to happen, and violence is about to show up on this tiny little street. But yeah, it's the little boy walks over, and you're just like, oh my goodness, mister, you forgot your bag. And it's like in The Untouchables, but thankfully that doesn't happen. But we get the car thieves showing back up, and they're there to try to steal Dougie's car. And while that may not give us too much sympathy for them to, we don't sympathize with them that much, but Lynch makes sure we really don't sympathize with them, because he has them throwing rocks at the little kid before they blow themselves up. Now look at the back tire. I want you to look at the rims. Look at the rim before they start the car. Do you see that? And now when they start the car and it explodes, watch the back rims again. It's a different car. It was a different tire. Now either that's a production problem they had, or Lynch is again trying to show us that not everything is what it seems. But that is a different rim. Very peculiar that Lynch would do that. So the little boy runs back into his house with those patriarchal crosses up there. Comes back in, wakes his mom up from whatever drug trance she's in. And that little slobber from her mouth to her shoulder. Ugh. Anyway, this is another moment what I love, because this is something you may not be able to do all the time in film, right? Because film is, you have to have a certain amount, it can only be so long because you have to have a certain amount of show times. But Lynch is able to take a moment, using TV to take a moment and expand this moment. This little boy watching this car on fire. Fire obviously is a big motif in Lynch's work, but I think it's a very nice moment. All right, so now we go to this car wash and Jade, another green texture name here, the African American prostitute that we were introduced in episode 3. She comes up and is alerted to the fact that they found the Great Northern room 315 key that Dougie / Cooper left in her car. And of course, it says that you can drop it off in a mailbox anytime and it will come back to Great Northern. Now, what's interesting is if this is Vegas and Rancho Rosa, if this is in the past, then that means that Ben Horner and them will get this key 10 years before Hawk is investigating this, which would be insane. Okay, so now we cut to the Double R, which is wonderful. This is a real location, obviously. We all know that, but they definitely shot this in the real location as opposed to a set like they did in during the first and second season. You can tell because behind the in the booths there isn't the wall with the plants and the cookie jars and that type of thing. So it's definitely real world location here. Here's Marv Roseanne, who played Toad. He has lost quite a bit of weight, and this episode is dedicated to him because he died a couple years ago. Now, here's Amanda Seyfried. She is playing Becky Burnett, who is Shelley's daughter. Now, what's interesting is Shelley does not have a last name in the end credits, so we don't know if she's Shelley Johnson, Shelley Barnett, or Shelley Briggs. We have no idea yet. And Becky wants money, of course, because her and her boyfriend or her husband, I'm not sure yet which, they need more and more money because of drug problems. And Shelley gets the money for her. And as we will find out, Norma says this is the third time in a couple weeks that Becky's come in for money. And they try to make comparisons here that Becky is a lot like Shelley, running around with the bad boys. I've seen a lot of things online saying, no, Becky's more like the new Laura Palmer. But I mean, even if Becky does die in this season, I mean, that doesn't automatically make her Laura Palmer. I mean, Teresa Banks wasn't Laura Palmer. So anyway, so it's wonderful to see Peggy Lipton and Machen Amick together again. And they make just a wonderful pair. She, of course, saying it's going to be a lot harder to get Becky help if you don't basically get her help now and stop, promoting this terrible relationship that she's in here by keep giving her money. And we realize that she is with Steven here. I guess they're not. I guess they're not married because he's not wearing a ring. But and Becky works at this place. I think it's called Sweet Bread or Sweet Dough or something like that. And of course, her boyfriend is looking for any work, I guess. But he just looks like some heroin strung out guy. He looks awful. Oh my God, look at that hair. Jeez. It's like he just woke up and showed up on set. And they feel the stare of the mom. So they back up, and Amanda Seyfried does a wonderful job here. And she does a great job in a few minutes. But, she's playing this girl who she knows she's in a bad situation, but she still wants to be with the guy, and she's afraid to be alone, just like Shelley was afraid to be alone. She wants to do the right thing, but she doesn't know what the right thing is. And she's showing so many different emotions in basically a short scene. What is it called? Sweet Love? I think that maybe, I don't know. Anyway, she makes bread for a living, apparently. But this guy, look, he has a bruise on his face too, much like Lorraine, but not the same. I mean, it's on his eye, not on his chin. But still, bruises seem to be a purveying thing in this show as well. Some people online, of course, are still accusing David Lynch of being a misogynist, but you will see that he's an equal opportunity offender. I've had some people tell me that this is cocaine they're using, and other people tell me they're sniffing heroin. I don't know. I haven't really been around either of those, so I don't have a clue. But they're saying that her reaction in a few minutes is more heroin like than cocaine, and he definitely looks more like a heroin addict to me, but I don't know. Okay. Now they turn on the music here, and we get the Paris Sisters, I Love How You Love Me, from 1961. It's wonderful. Lynch he picks the best songs for his movies. You think about Blue Velvet and some of the old classics he used in that, even Blue Velvet. And he's able to, those songs work so well because a lot of his shows and movies, you don't know quite what year they take place in. So it can be any time. And so they're timeless songs in a timeless narrative, and it just works. Now when Becky, she lays her head back and looks up and we pull away, this look, this smile, I've seen people online, and I totally agree that this is what it feels like for hardcore fans to be back in Twin Peaks, to be back in this world again. I mean, it's like we're spoiled, everybody. We are so spoiled that we are getting 18 hours of Mark Frost and David Lynch here, and Amanda Seyfried for a few seconds. Let's just kind of escape with her and feel the bliss of being in the great big wide world of Twin Peaks again. And this is another wonderful example of Lynch taking a moment and letting it breathe, which I think is essential to do, and with such a sprawling narrative as we are doing. As we are given, I should say. Yeah, absolutely wonderful. So we're in the elevator. Dougie just has he just faces everybody. I mean, I know people are saying I'm tired of Dougie, but give me Dougie all day long. Like I said yesterday, my wife she told me, I have a feeling this is going to be a huge payoff with this. So just, everyone needs to just calm down and just go with it, because when Agent Cooper comes back, it's gonna be rocking. Anyway, Kyle, man, saying nothing but just showing us everything. That face, that longing in his eyes. He's one hell of an actor, and he's gonna get just a ton of awards for these multiple performances in this show. Here's more red balloons, and Dougie is going to be staring at the statue, I think, for the rest of the episode. So, people complain, oh, he's stuck in this limbo world. Well, at least Cooper's out of the Black Lodge for now. But yeah, it's I like how he's like looking at the pants, and he's just studying the statue. He knows that there's something here that he's supposed to recognize, and he doesn't quite know what it is yet. And it's just wonderful, silent acting. Kyle MacLachlan just keeps impressing more and more with every episode. And then when they cut to obviously the doppelganger, it's amazing. You can't believe it's the same actor. And for years, Kyle, was in these small supporting roles, and now he's finally getting to shine again. I love this shot of the outside of the sheriff's station. That's just beautiful. And the digital photography, the exterior at nighttime, it's a beautiful image. We get Hawk and Andy here, still going through case files. Again, name of the episode. We have Laura Palmer's diary on the table. I wish Hawk would, look inside of it, because maybe he would see Annie Blackburn's warning to Laura that the good Dale was stuck in the lodge, and to write it in her diary. That would help. But when Andy says, I haven't found anything with Indians yet. I'm always worried whenever they say something like that, because I know Twitter is just exploding with people complaining like, oh, he didn't say Native Americans. He's not giving Hawk the proper respect. But Hawk, knows that Andy is a silly buffoon. He doesn't mean anything negative by it. So, Hawk is just a very caring and understanding individual, and lets things like that go. But I love seeing Michael Horse and here he goes acting. It's wonderful to see them back on the screen again. All right, so next we cut to Dr. Jacoby, or shall I say Dr. Amp. We get another 7 here. He starts his show at 7 p.m. And begins it with, it's 7 o'clock. Do you know where your freedom is? Jacoby also says right here, rough, which is interesting because it makes me think of the police officer in episode 1 when he said wolf, patting a dog. And obviously we have a dog's leg in the back of the doppelganger's car. This is definitely a Mark Frost touch. If you follow him on Twitter, you know that he loves to call out extremist bloggers and YouTubers or anything like that have like just crazy right-wing agendas. Now, even though this is more left-wing agenda, it's definitely like poking fun at the Alex Jones types and things like that. And the fact that Dr. Jacoby is running this out of a little mobile home is absolutely hilarious. And it's just wonderful to see Russ Tamblyn getting a performance that he can chew on. I always thought he was wonderful as Dr. Jacoby, but here he is just milking it. I mean, it's one big scene, but he just owns it. He pulls up this flashlight, which of course has kind of a bat owl kind of feeling to it. And we're going to get some cutaways here to people who are watching his show. One of those is Jerry Horn, who, when I first saw this on TV, my TV calibration was just not what I wanted it to be, I guess, because I didn't even realize it was Jerry Horn. I thought it was just some sort of random homeless man watching this show by the river. I'm just so not used to seeing Jerry Horn in this light with this beard and this beanie hat. So it took me by surprise when people were like, no, it's Jerry Horn. I was like, that was Jerry? Oh my goodness. I have to go back and rewatch that. And then we get another shot of Nadine Hurley. And this is the first time we've seen her in 5 episodes. And it's interesting that, there isn't like a big reveal for her. It's just all of a sudden cuts and there's Nadine and she's there. And she seems so proud of Dr. Jacoby. I mean, Dr. Amp. We don't know yet what she's up to. I mean, we've heard things behind the scenes, but we don't know officially by the show yet. But she is definitely someone who still admires obsession. And seems like she's enjoying it. Now, we get this wonderful moment here where Dr. Jacoby brings out the gold shovels. Now, this is clearly Lynch and Frost having fun with fan expectations and trolling us just a little bit. Maybe more, though. We got 2 huge scenes in previous episodes. In episode 1, we get the delivery of the shovels. Episode 3, he's spray painting the shovels. I mean, there are so many theories out there. There were articles written about, is he going to dig up something having to do with Laura Palmer? Is his shovels going to be these spiritual things that get into the Black Lodge? Or is it going to be some grounds ceremony for Ghostwood Developments? No, he's just selling shovels. And I love the fact that Lynch and Frost take this moment and they actually turn it into a commercial. It's not just the scene of him ranting and raving. It actually turns into a commercial. We have this, with Russ Tamblyn digging himself out of shit with these gold shovels. It is so funny. And it just completely just makes you go, nothing is what it seems, right? I mean, you can't analyze the gold shovels because Frost and Lynch just made you go, ha, ha, ha. They're laughing at us in a very cute way, but they are making fun of all the expectations that fans would have about what these gold shovels are. So that just shows me that once again, that Frost and Lynch are like 20 steps ahead of everybody else. And it's wonderful. I also love the fact that these shovels are $29.99 plus shipping and handling. It takes 2 to 4 weeks for delivery. He has thought this out through and through. Okay, so now we cut to the Pentagon, Arlington, Virginia. The font is, of course, of the Fire Walk With Me. We are introduced to Ernie Hudson. It's wonderful to see him from Ghostbusters and Oz. He plays Colonel Davis, and he's going to give Cindy some instructions to go out to South Dakota because there has been the 16th hit of Major Garland Briggs's fingerprints in 25 years. Colonel Davis tells her, this isn't real, but if it is real, you have to alert the FBI. So either the FBI and the military have been working together since Major Briggs has died, or Cole has contacted the military recently after the, slip up with the doppelganger in the jail, or the prison, I should say. And maybe the FBI has alerted the military, like something big's happening, something big's about to go down. We need to have you guys be ready. I mean, we don't know yet, but they are definitely in cahoots, and that's wonderful to see because so many times in the original series, the military and the police department seem to be a little bit at odds with each other. So I'm glad to see them working in tandem together. Okay, so we go to the Roadhouse next, and we get this. I'm not sure, but I think this is a repeat shot from episode 2 of the foot going into the puddle. The band playing is called Trouble. It's Riley Lynch's band with Dean Hurley, who's a regular musician that works with David Lynch. And this episode does not end with a performance at the Roadhouse. It ends quite differently. And but Lynch has definitely given his son a moment to shine here. Keeps the camera focused on him. And now sitting at the booth, we have Richard Horn. And there's been a lot of theories as to who this guy is. Who is this Richard Thorne? Is he Jerry's son? I had a listener named Melissa who contacted me and said that, obviously if this is the Richard of the Richard and Linda that the giant warned Cooper about in episode 1, that what if this Richard Horn is the son of Audrey and the doppelganger, and that Linda could be the child of Annie and Cooper? That would be amazing. Absolutely amazing. I had one person, Daniel, wrote in and said, this evil abomination of Richard Horn could only be fathered by one John Justice Wheeler. And then, of course, John Thorne, who, wrote for and created Wrapped in Plastic and the new Blue Rose magazine, he contacted me and said, well, how do we know it's Jerry or Audrey's son? It could be Donna's son, because what if he took the proper last name of her father, not Hayward? So we don't know yet what's happening, but there's definitely something at play here. Okay, so the Roadhouse tells him to put out his cigarette. He's not going to listen. He is instead going to pay off Deputy Chad here. Deputy Chad, you may remember previous episodes, he's the one in the sheriff's station that was kind of complaining about the log lady calling about Dale Cooper. We realize he's being paid off for something, presumably drugs. Roadhouse is a big place, obviously, for drug dealing. And obviously we know that there was a kid that OD'd at the high school, and presumably, obviously we know Steven does drugs. We don't know if he sells drugs or not, but and we still don't know about Bobby Briggs. I mean, is Bobby Briggs someone who has turned his life around, which I hope, or is he still dealing on the inside as well? I guess we'll find out. I'm going to assume if Deputy Chad is doing this kind of thing, that Bobby Briggs is not, and maybe Bobby will have to kill himself, another deputy. It's amazing how things come full circle. All right, so this is Charlotte. And she's like, oh, do you have a light? And he's like, come on over here. And what's interesting is that she comes over and he sexually accosts her right in front of the entire Roadhouse. Her girlfriends really don't do anything. Nobody standing there does anything. The people at the booth behind him don't do anything. So again, it's like the world is like at a standstill. Everyone's afraid to do something. I don't know what it is. I kept waiting for like James Hurley to show up and kick his ass, but that doesn't happen. Look, the girls are just like, oh, well, I guess we'll just sit here. And like, I wonder what's happening. He's got his like hand around her throat. He's threatening her, cussing at her, making just extreme sexual remarks towards her. And no one cares. I mean, yeah, this one girl stands up, but that's all she does. I mean, she doesn't, you would think these three girls would be in his face, yelling and screaming, but Nope. And they just kind of sit there and take it. So that's what gives me the feeling like, good Lord, if that is the doppelganger's kid with Audrey, would make sense. I can't see Donna raising a son like this. Or some people said, well, he looks like Jerry. Well, I don't know. Would Jerry raise a kid like this? Jerry's a scuzzy guy, but I don't think he'd like raise Satan, but I guess we'll find out soon enough. Okay, so now we cut to Tamara Preston, and she's looking at Agent Cooper. Some people online have said, how did the FBI get a picture of Kyle in the red room? And I'm like, that's not a picture of Kyle in the red room. That's a picture from the scene where he's being interviewed by Clarence Williams III and the Mountie when they're interrogating him about going into One-Eyed Jack's to rescue Audrey. That's where that picture's from. But, you know, some people just don't know what they're looking at, I guess. Now, some other people have told me, well, she really seems to be infatuated with Agent Cooper. She may be falling in love with him, and that maybe the end of the show will be Cooper and Tamara Preston living happily ever after. If that happens, seriously, I'll throw up. Anyway, so now she's comparing the prints from Agent Cooper to the doppelganger, or she thinks it's still Cooper, but you know, we know the truth. And if you'll notice, his prints and the doppelganger's prints are flip opposites from each other. So the doppelganger's print is backwards from what Cooper, you know, back in 1990 or, you know, was like. So right now she knows that something's up. Now, again, is this the doppelganger's prints of Cooper, or did the doppelganger also take some of Briggs's prints too? I don't know about that, but I do know that a lot of his prints are the flip opposite of what Dale Cooper's are. And that is a telltale sign that this is a blue rose case. Doesn't get any bluer. All right, so now the doppelganger Bob is waiting for his phone call, and Warden Murphy comes in to bring him the phone and plugs it in. Again, old phone. Now, a lot of people thought that the doppelganger was going to use this electricity to escape, but he doesn't want to go back to the Black Lodge, so he's not going to escape. That's this way. And remember, this prison is also where Ray is, his former, confidant, whatever they was talking to in the diner. And Ray has the information from presumably Betty Briggs about coordinates, so he needs to get to Ray somehow. So he's not going to want to escape from the prison right away. This is really creepy. The fact that the doppelganger is, saying, that he's just staring at the camera, and he's saying, now that everyone's here, I will make my phone call. So he's aware that everyone's like spying on him, and Kyle's so great in this role. He's just wonderful. He's very compelling and scary. Then he says, should I call Mr. Strawberry? It's funny. Lynch is able to take these names that don't mean really anything and make them sinister. Mr. Strawberry, we think back to Mr. Reindeer in Wild at Heart. He can just turn the most innocent sounding words into just creepy feelings. Now, when he picks up the phone, and it seems like the first numbers he dials is the code that the guard used to get out of that cell. Probably, it just seems like it's the same. It seems kind of toned to it. Anyway, so he has a bunch of other numbers that obviously no phone number could ever call, and lights and everything goes off inside the prison. He's able to get in touch with this black box in Buenos Aires, Argentina, that Lorraine called earlier in the episode. Obviously, they cannot record anything that he's saying. I mean, he doesn't say anything more than the cow jumped over the moon, but still he gets his privacy. And it's interesting to think about the implications of what calling this little box is going to trigger in the world, because he's like signaling for help in some way, and or calling something to do something. But doppelganger Bob is no putz. He is the man, and he knows it. He's not sweating one bit. All right, so then we cut to Buenos Aires, Argentina. And the first time I saw this, I thought, oh my goodness, are we going to get a Philip Jeffries cameo? Well, we don't, but I feel like something like that is going to happen. It just seems to be building to that. We're dealing a lot with Philip Jeffries to not have Philip Jeffries show up at all in 18 hours. And then Lynch again shows us that light, which again reestablishes where we are. Lynch just has done that throughout his work, and he's just a master at making us realize where we are in the time and space of things. All right, so we cut to the black box. We get the double beep, and then it turns into. A lot of people said it turned into the gold marble again, but that is no gold marble. That looks like melted. I don't know, melted lead or something like that. I don't know. And then the police officer comes over and tells Dougie Cooper to move it along, and Dougie just can't help it and just looks at the shoes, and he's just, and credits roll. Yeah, you'll notice Shelley does not have a last name, and but I love the fact that Lynch has held this whole shot while the credits roll. Kyle just standing there, just admiring the statue, admiring the pants and the outfit and everything. I just can't get enough of seeing all these actors playing these roles and giving us all this new information and new perspectives on characters that we have known for 25 plus years. It's absolutely astounding that they're able to still draw from that well and show us that there is a lot more to play with than even we as epic fans anticipated. Now, the final music is called Windswept, and it's by Johnny Jewel. Some people thought it was by Angelo Badalamenti, but it's not. And Johnny Jewel's album apparently is very, very good. So if you want to check it out, I would recommend it, because especially if you like this kind of music. And also, you will see at the end, it says filmed in Washington State. And then it says, this film has benefited from the state of California, blah, 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 blah. And again, it doesn't say this TV show. It's this film. This film also has benefited by the French tax rebate. So again, it is a movie. Lynch and Frost intended this as a giant movie that was cut up hour by hour. And of course, then we get the Lynch Frost Productions epic logo that I loved ever since I first saw it back in 1990. And so there it is, episode 5 of Twin Peaks 2017. All right, guys. So I'm now going to go to the chat, and we're going to have some fun. Hopefully, if you guys are still here, hopefully it didn't cut out again. All right. Let's see here. I see you guys here. Wonderful, wonderful. It's not letting me. Oh, it's not letting me go too far back up the chat, but it's okay, guys. Just keep throwing out your questions. SPF 50 says, I hope Bobby is a good cop. So do I. And if Deputy Chad is a bad cop, then I'm pretty sure Bobby will be a good cop, because someone has to take Deputy Chad down, and probably is not going to be Andy. Maybe. But Philip Acker says, Richard Horn reminds me of Bobby Peru. He does. He definitely has that Bobby Peru, just like the country kind of attitude about him. Jan Karia says, Richard reminds me of Frank Booth. He does as well. And what's interesting is that we have a character in this episode called Frank. And of course, Richard Horn is sitting in a booth. So just saying. Hunk Slam says, Richard Horn has no panache. Apple fell way from the tree. Yeah, he does. He has no horn suave whatsoever. Steve Owen calls him a scumbag. Philip Acker says it's really similar to the F Me scene in Wild at Heart. And what's weird is that it just kind of cuts away, right? So there's no like real payoff to it, except, oh my Lord, what is going on here? James Finn said he thought Richard Horn looked like Jay Moore. That's hilarious. Scooby D says, same Cameron, same. I don't want to see Tammy and Coop together. Just no. I mean, who knows? Maybe Tamara Preston will become a better character as it goes on. But as of right now, no. Okay. Either want it to be Annie or Audrey or alone. I don't want him with Tamara Preston. Anton says, how about Audrey's hidden love scene in the jet with Jack Wheeler? At least he looks a bit like Jack. That's what Daniel said, that he said that he thinks John Justice Wheeler's the dad. Other people, like I said, think that it's Donna's son, but I can't see Donna raising a kid like that. I love Melissa's idea, though, that if Richard Horne was the son of Audrey and the doppelganger, because the doppelganger had his way with Audrey and then took off, and then Linda of Richard and Linda, that the giant said, that Linda would be the product of Annie and Cooper from their love tryst. That would be epic. Richard and Linda would be, like the giant says to Cooper, two birds with one stone. Of course, his stone being his balls. So that would be amazing, though. Epic. Steve Owen says, the world without Cooper is an evil mess. Theme of the show. Perhaps so far. Let's see. Let's see what you guys are saying here. Trademark says, only 5 episodes in and the show already jumped the moon. Oh man, are you not digging this show? I've had some people tell me they're out, they're done, and I'm like, well, if you made it through these 5 episodes, I mean, next episode will be the end of the first act. If we want to go with a 3-act structure, so I mean, don't you want to keep going and see where this is moving towards? I don't know. To me, I can't even imagine quitting this thing. Leonard says the cow jumped over the moon has to be an anagram. It contains the letters for Cooper. Interesting. Anton says, notice how Mr. C's speech changed after Dale coming out of the lodge. Could they have a shared consciousness, and the only was for Coop to get back his sanity is to claim it from the doppelganger? Well, they are 2 halves of the same person, so yeah. Trademark says he's a doppelganger is like Javier Bardem in Skyfall. And Javier Bardem in Skyfall was a lot like the Joker in The Dark Knight. So Hung Slam says, cow jumped over the moon. Is it code? Perhaps it just means shut it down. I don't know. I mean, either we'll find out or we're just going to have to assume by whatever happens next. Steve Owen says, Charlotte is Gersten Hayward's daughter. Gersten Hayward. I mean, wouldn't she be like 40 years old? I don't know. Oh, Gersten. Maybe it's the daughter of her. Maybe. Yeah, that would be good. That would be, well, we'll see. I mean, I don't know. Do we want every character to be related to somebody else? I mean, that's kind of one of the big problems with Star Wars, right? So, well, I guess we'll see. Trademark says, I doubt it. Gersten was 14 in the first series. True. I mean, we'll know. Daduda says Bushnell was the name of David Lynch's film teacher. Definitely. Yeah, I remember that. I was in the Pretty as a Picture, the Art of David Lynch documentary. Very cool. SPF says the last track was very relaxing and nice. It ended perfectly. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, Jared Hall reminds us it's a giant movie and we haven't even reached the end of the first act. Definitely. Family Guy 10 says, I just joined right at the end. Well, go back and rewatch it. Hopefully I didn't embarrass myself too much. It's really hard doing this like for the second time because I felt like the first time I said everything I wanted to say, and I did in this one as well, but I was playing a lot of catch up because scenes were moving faster than I was expecting them to be, and I was right on time for a lot of it yesterday, so hopefully it doesn't come off as too anarchic tonight. Let's see, SPF says it's a treat this new season. This new season is a treat. Jan says, what are your theories on the box in Argentina that Coop calls? I have no idea. I'm trying to figure out. Well, see, if the Las Vegas stuff takes place at a different time, that still makes sense because the doppelganger and Bob can move within. Well, I know at least Bob can move within time. So, you know, I don't know. I mean, so they could theoretically be calling the same place, which they are. And so she could be calling it a decade earlier and he could be calling it a decade later and shutting it down. I don't know. I don't know until they establish where Rancho Rosa is. I mean, obviously there's something going on with Rancho Rosa. I mean, Sunny Jim's blinking backwards. There's red balloons everywhere. You know, the car exploded and it's two different cars. Everybody's talking about dream weavers and you know, there's all this dream talk. You know, Rancho Rosa is used as the production logo. It can't just be just a random thing. I mean, you know, it's got the 2 R's circled. There's something going on there. Let's see here. SPF says, my brother just now watching old show. He's got no clue what lies ahead. None of us do. I mean, go back to episode 1. What we were thinking, like, okay, well, I can maybe see where we're going with the show a little bit. No, we didn't. So who knows what episode 8 or episode 9 are going to be like. It's going to be completely different. Rick says, I think Audrey will wake up from a 25-year coma and have that in common with Cooper, who was in the Red Room for 25 years. Oh, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. If they're going to do that, if they're going to pull that 25 years things with Audrey waking up, then they need to have Hank Jennings come out of prison because he had a 25-year sentence as well. I know he died in the book, but come on, there's a lot of misinformation in that book. So just have him get out of jail. SPF, Sonny Jim, the new Little Nicky? No, because people were annoyed by Little Nicky right at the start. I don't think people are annoyed as are the people annoyed by Sonny Jim. He doesn't talk, but he does have a cute smile. And when he giggles at Dougie, I mean, that's how we feel. We're giggling at Dougie too. So I don't, you know. West Riding Media says, do you think the insurance man who comes into the sheriff's department in the first episode and leaves his business card with Lucy is connected with Dougie because Dougie works at Lucky 7 Insurance? You're probably right. But I just thought it was really interesting that, you know, Dougie works at Lucky 7 Insurance. It's on the 7th floor. You know, that's the same 7 on Tracy's coffee cup. You know, Dr. Jacoby or Dr. Amp's show starts at 7, and there's other 7s I know. And then there's all these 16s in this episode. It's just really bizarre, you know. But again, it's like, you know, what do you look at and investigate as clues, and what are gold shovels? You know, I mean, what are real clues, and what's us just, you know, having fun speculating about things and then realizing that it didn't matter at all because Dr. Jacoby's just selling gold shovels on a website or on a commercial or whatever. Lynch and Frost, they know what they're doing, and it's a blast watching it along with them. Lion Nut says, 87 says, I see this plot going. Evil Cooper escapes from prison, will somehow kill Gordon, and we'll have a big supernatural confrontation with Cooper at the end. That is normal storytelling, my friend. And if anyone else was making this show, I would agree with you, but this is David Lynch and Mark Frost. Anything you can expect to happen is not going to happen in the way you expect it to. Trust me. Steve Owens says, why would they give Audrey such a dark fate? I don't know. Why would they suggest to us that Major Briggs got decapitated and is rotting away in a bed with a woman's head attached to him? SPF says, if we get season 4, I'll lose it. Yeah, I don't think we're going to, but I mean, because Mark Frost's book is called Final Dossier. So I don't think we're going to get that, but you never know. Rick says, I think Audrey is Sleeping Beauty. Maybe. Alice Lynch is here. 2 a.m. still here. Alice wrote in earlier today and said, the reason why your show crapped out yesterday is because you're flirting with evil forces. Maybe, but, you know, someone has to lead us into the light. All right. Let's see. Hunks thanks me for doing a good job. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. Really appreciate it. Hunks, thank you. JB says, Mark Frost asked on Twitter if anyone noticed the little hand. Jacoby had a little hand on his middle finger. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it could be a lot of things. You know, it's hard to put things in perspective again because we haven't seen the whole thing. I mean, we're only going hour by hour here, but we're trying to do the best we can. Undeclared Nation says, if they don't bring Audrey in the next episode, then I am out. And that is capital O-U-T. Someone wrote in earlier today, and I don't know how this person would know it, and so I don't put a lot of stock in it, but they wrote in, they said, I heard Audrey only shows up for 2 minutes in this entire show. Really? I mean, I know Sherilyn Fenn was upset with her role, or at least upset by the maybe the depth or the time of her role, but 2 minutes? That would be surprising, even for Lynch and Frost, to give her 2 minutes. But I guess we'll see. But Trademark says, yeah, I could do without Audrey. Oh, God. James Finn says, I have a good feeling that Michael Onkin is going to show up before it's over. See, I do too. I do too, because if he wasn't, they wouldn't just keep making him part of the storyline, right? It's not just the fact of, it's not Lucy saying, oh, how is Sheriff Truman doing? Oh, he's getting better. I mean, Frank is on the phone with him. So we're getting closer, guys. Let's see. Jamie says, I think Philip Jeffries is that black box. Well, if Michael J. Anderson can turn into a tree, I guess David Bowie can turn into a black box. Rick TBL says, Rancho Rosa, Double R Diner, the Red Room. That's a lot of RR. It is. And if you go back to the original series, there's a lot of Mike and Bobby's too. There's 3 of them. So, you know, they like this repeat thing. Let's see. Dad Duda brings up Fat Trout Trailer Park. Yeah, well, we know that's coming because we've seen Harry Dean Stanton's in the show. And presumably, that's where Becky and Steven live. Yeah. So, I mean, you know, they have, people have seen those 3 actors, Harry Dean Stanton, Amanda Seyfried, and I don't know who plays Steven right now off the top of my head. Them together in near Snoqualmie. So we'll see what happens, but it makes sense, right? I mean, they're kind of like trailer park junkies. So we'll see. Let's see. JB says there are 2 Trumans and 3 Coopers. Yep. There's doubles and triples of everybody here, apparently. Leonard says 15 and 3 on the outlets from part 3 are in amps. Interesting. Jamie Murray says Truman's wife talks about her father's car. So I'm thinking her father is Harry Dean Stanton's character. Wow. So like if she is the daughter of Harry Dean Stanton, Carl Rod, and Becky and Steven potentially live in his trailer park, well, there's your, I mean, Twin Peaks is a small town, right? So, Kiriko says, do you think Jacoby will have a bigger purpose for doing that? I don't know, but I do think that all that gold shovel stuff, at least at this moment, was just, you know, having fun with us, basically. Similar to, you know, the opening credits of Fire Walk with Me and the snowy TV and, you know, hitting, you know, bashing that, and that being, you know, this is the film, not the TV show. They're just playing with fan expectations. Anton says, so what do you think about Coop's enhanced ability to see truth? A permanent ability as a payoff for staying 25 years in the lodge, or just someone from the lodge helping him for some reason? Your guess is as good as mine. But what scares me the most is I have a feeling that in order for him to get out of that reality, he's going to have to go back through, maybe not the electrical outlet, but he'll have to go through the lodges again to get out the other side. And that might be a mind bender again, if that happens. So Mario says, did we find out why they gave Cheryl Lee credit? Was it because you hear her voice? I'm going to say yes. I know a lot of people say it's also because of her picture in the opening credits. It could be both, but her voice was in the show, so that's another incentive to give her credit for this episode. Armageddon says, do we know if Bowie filmed any scenes? We don't, but it's gonna be one hell of a moment if he pops up. I'll tell you that much. You'll see the internet just shut down, much like the prison. The doppelganger makes the phone call. It'll be like my show last night, just blackout. Leonard says, I'm thinking Major Briggs got cloned like Dougie several times over the years. The clones have helped Mr. C. You're probably right. That's a good thought. That dude says, why did the arm evolve into a tree? Basically because Michael J. Anderson went a bit cuckoo, and David Lynch and Mark Frost didn't want to deal with him, so they turned him into a tree. Let's see. West Writing Media says, could the insurance man in first episode be the real Dougie in a different time zone? Man, my brain's gonna hurt with all these alternate timelines if that happens. Trademark says, this episode is my favorite so far. Great scenes, great music. Yeah, I agree. SPF says, when is, he's referring to the Twin Peaks Thought of the Day videos, when is the next Bookhouse Boys stream? The whole gang chatting, that is. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, it all depends on schedules and stuff like that. So hopefully soon. Let's see. Let's see what we got here. People not liking Audrey in the chat. Leonard says, I was into Audrey when I was a teen. Ooh, that's kind of a burn. Halzak says, when I watched Twin Peaks, I was crushing hard on Audrey, but lately I've had a bigger crush on Shelley. Taken Time Lord says, coop, 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 bob, bob, bob. That'd be a good little song right there. William Richmond says, does it make sense for Shelley to still be working at the diner after 25 years? Yes and no. Okay. I think there's more to her story than just that. I think she's either co-owner with Norma, or when Coop went into the lodge, Twin Peaks like stood still, and not many people like really moved on with their lives. I mean, right now it just seems like everyone's kind of been at a standstill. You know, you have Norma still kind of seems lonely and pining away for Ed, and we haven't even seen Ed Hurley yet, so I can't wait. You know, people are asking, where's Audrey? Where's Audrey? I'm like, where's Big Ed? I want some Everett McGill in my show. Ben Oliver says, I love that Jade's car wash guy knows she's a prostitute. It is Vegas, man, and whatever happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. There's Steve Owens says, the actor who plays Major Briggs is dead, so the character has to be dead. Well, it doesn't have to be, but it makes sense because Major Briggs would be one of the 4 people I consider that could get Cooper out of the Black Lodge. The other 3, of course, would be the Log Lady, Ronette Pulaski, and Hawk. Alice Lynch says, yes, let's call out this beautiful darkness and talk about it. Someone's got to do the job, at least for another 25 years, just like Jacoby does. And Taken Time Lord thinks that Laura Dern is going to be playing Principal Hastings' secretary and not Diane. Interesting. That is the first time I've heard someone come up with an alternative that seems reasonable. So good on you for that. Please speculate on why Becky is with Steven, because girls like terrible boys at that age. Let's see. Oh, that's a mean remark about Audrey, SPF. I can't even read that one. Jan says, I think Coop just remembered his FBI training when he said that guy was lying. The green light flashes on his eyes on the mouth, like in the series Psych. Well, Psych did do that at the Twin Peaks sort of special, right? Where they had fun with the cast. Let's see. When did Briggs die? Soon after season 2 ended, because the doppelganger went to visit him, and then Major Briggs died the next day. So 1990. William Richmond says, who do you think will get Cooper's Great Northern Room key when it arrives there in the mail? I don't know, but I would assume that they've made some other Room 315 keys in the 25 years. So maybe it will just get thrown in the trash and nothing will come out of it. But, hopefully, maybe, I don't know, maybe Trudy finds it. Halzak says, I'm saddened by MGA's sudden turn for the crazy, but I love the tree. And we all kind of love the tree, don't we? But it would have been great to see Michael J. Anderson back, but unfortunately, he talked so many times backwards that his mind went backwards. Daduda says, what do you think about the cooking show that appeared on the screen when Cooper hacked the prison phone? I looked into it and I couldn't really find anything. That's why I didn't mention it, but chances are there's probably something there. But I had one person write me and say that they thought they saw Laura Palmer in that video as one of the 3 people. It's not Charlie. So I'll tell you that much. SPF 50 says Dougie is a realtor, isn't he? Well, he seemed like a realtor, but I guess he's insurance, or maybe he does both. I don't know. But for someone who has 2 jobs, maybe he's not as good, because obviously they said that Tom Sizemore as character, and hopefully I didn't say Michael Madsen too many times in that that watch along. But Tom Sizemore, the boss Bushnell says that that Tom Sizemore's character closes more things in a week than Dougie does in a month. So maybe Dougie has to have 2 jobs. I don't know. So Mario says, if Jacoby paints 6 shovels and Nadine and Jerry buy one, well, then he'll have 4. I don't know. Jorb says, I can't believe I was here for the watch along when it cut out, but not today. Well, it'll be here on YouTube, so you can watch it anytime you want. Manny says, I know people who've worked at Denny's for 20 plus years. That is very, very true. Alice Lynch says, I've watched it several times and it still breaks my heart seeing Cooper in front of the statue, wondering and coping. I can't wait for the big wake up moment. I can't wait either. And for a fact that Lynch and Frost aren't going to be like, all right, that's enough, Dougie. We'll go to Cooper. We're gonna earn that moment. And when we earn that moment, man, fans around the world are gonna be jumping off their chairs and couches, screaming, "Yes, go get him! Kick his ass, Coop!" Mario says, "I feel the 6 shovels will come into play later on, probably, but right now they're just having fun with us, so we have to just go with that." SPF does think that the statue reminds Cooper or Dougie, whatever, as Truman. I think so too, but also just the nature of the lawman as well. KM Charlie 75 says, "Do we know if Sherilyn Fang got mad at Lynch and Frost?" She's been outspoken on Twitter about a lot of things, but it's hard to know what is truth and what is just her just rambling and lashing out about whatever is on her mind at the moment. So we don't have any definite things, but I know that she definitely publicly said that she wasn't pleased with aspects of her role in this new show. So maybe, I don't know, maybe she thought that the whole show was going to be her and Cooper just romancing it up, at breakfast at the not Double R, at the Great Northern every morning. But obviously the show has other things on its mind. Halzak says, I'm kind of hoping we never see Diane. I say I agree, but if we are going to see her, I want it to be Laura Dern. So I'm just saying, if we have to see it, I agree. Jorb says Ben Horn will get the key. That's a possibility, but Ben Horn, what's Ben Horn doing in guest services getting keys? I mean, he's an important, hotel owner and businessman. Jorb says, is Ben Horn a good guy now? I don't think so, because when he gets his head hit at the end of season 2, it seems to indicate that would return him back to the old Ben Horn. That's the way I always assumed it would be if he lived. Niall says, does Bobby know about the 16 hits on Major Briggs? Highly, highly doubtful. Remember, he's a local deputy at a little, Twin Peaks Sheriff Station. He's not up in the military and the FBI. So William says, I'm betting Audrey will see the key and remember that's where Cooper stayed. Yeah, maybe she'll be sitting in a box with no arms and no legs and see the key come across the counter. Undeclared Nation. Ooh, I like this. Ashley Judd's character will find the key. Yeah, well, we need to bring her back. I mean, she shows up, says some words, and hightails it out of there. So, Ben Oliver thinks that Laura Dern is going to be on Invitation to Love. I don't think they're bringing that back, Ben, but it was a good. It's a good joke there. All right, here. Yeah, Buck says aside from the cooking show, there's also another screen in the prison that shows something like a show, show repair room. Yeah, I looked into that too. It doesn't seem like there's anything there, but it seems like just Doppelganger just had different screens popping up just to kind of distract everybody. But I mean, everything means something to an extent, but I don't think there's like hidden characters or hidden clues in there, except maybe just a feeling of chaos happening. Let's see here. Wilton says Ben Horn could be a doppelganger as well. That's a new one. George says, I think Denise is a doppelganger. SPF thinks I am a doppelganger. Well, you would have met my doppelganger yesterday when I realized the whole show didn't record. I came out like, My wife was like, what's going on? I'm like, I just did the whole show and only the first 15 minutes went online before the show began. My goodness. Undeclared Nation says, you're doing a great job on this channel. Really love it. Thank you. Hey, thank you for watching. Seriously, because again, like I said, without you guys here, it would just be the ramblings of an insane Twin Peaks fan on here. So I appreciate you guys taking the time to watch. Steve Owen says, does Bad Coop want to find a more powerful spirit than Bob? Owl spirit. Maybe instead of killing Amanda Seyfried, maybe Doppelganger will possess her because she won't be as strong as Laura. Ooh, and that'd be something. Amanda Seyfried showing up as Bob. Niles Delta says, do you not remember smashing your head into the webcam last night? Oh, that didn't happen, but now that you mention it, probably should have happened. I think that would be the greatest ending to one of these videos if I smashed my head into the image and then I came up and Frank Silva's face was there. William says, I think Ben is less of a whoremonger now, and he's just less dramatic with age. Maybe, but I want to know who owns One-Eyed Jacks. Are we going to get One-Eyed Jacks again in this series? And if so, who owns it? William says, was this one as good as the one you did last night? I think it's pretty good tonight. I have a pretty good feeling that tonight went well. I just felt that I wasn't able to get everything I wanted him to say all the time just because the scenes were moving quicker than last night. But I think overall, I think my information got out there, and hopefully this will help get us through until the next episode. Alexander says, have you noticed that even actor who's passed has been credited when they've appeared or mentioned? Oh yeah, no, this whole show has been dedicated to people every episode. Scooby D says, speaking of owls, I can't see an owl without saying out loud, they are not what they seem. Hey, that's been in my vocabulary since 1991, so join the club. Jorb says, was it ever explained in the original series why everyone's arms started to get weird during the end of season 2? I think they just felt that like chaos and horror was about to happen, right? That there was going to be that planet in Junction, and Cooper was going to go into the Black Lodge, the doppelganger was going to come out. I think that's why everybody was kind of spazzing out. It just was premonition. William TPQ. Alex Jones asked Lynch about the owls, and he said to ask Mark Frost. Taycon says, yes, he agrees. Yeah, I think it was the Saturn-Jupiter conjunction. Yes, I agree. SPF 50 says, it's nice that we only have to wait a week now instead of the 2-week wait. I've seen some people say to me, God, this episode was so long. I just couldn't get through it. And then I've had other people say to me, this episode went so fast. Well, for the people who went too long, I think you should just kind of pace yourself. It's going to be fine. And those people who think it's too short, well, that makes sense because for the last couple of weeks, we've been kind of spoiled and gotten 2 episodes or 4 episodes. And so, yeah, 1 episode is going to feel like, you know, a couple breaths. Let's see. Jamie says this show does need more hookers and gambling. Well, I know what you would be writing then. Some more One-Eyed Jack scenes. Definitely. That would be hilarious. All right, guys, we're going to be wrapping this up in a few minutes. So if you have any last things you want to say, just throw them out there in the chat, and then I will see you soon. But seriously, thank you guys for watching. We have over 100 people watching live right now, which is just absolutely wonderful. Thank you guys for taking time out of your busy, busy day and watching this. And for those of you who did not watch this live, you know, hopefully you can make it to one of the live ones this summer. They're all different times. I try to post early enough so you guys know when they're going to be, but just, you know, it's all about scheduling right now. So, but I appreciate you guys even coming here in the first place. So yeah. Pepperdine says, have we seen Linda yet in the new show? I don't think we have. David Rattenmeyer says, where is Chester Desmond? No mention of him at all. He'll probably come up eventually. I mean, they have to address it, right? SBF is taking off. Have a good night. And everybody else is just kind of checking out soon. And so I'm going to be leaving myself. Let's see. Malacream says, I read somewhere and saw the insurance guy visiting Truman in the Lucky 7 scenes, but I couldn't see him. Philip Acker thinks that Laura Dern will play Linda. Maybe. Anton says, thanks, Cameron. Everyone, great discussions. Really makes the show feel complete for me. I agree. You know, let me just say this. Back in the day, when the original show was on, the moment it was over, if I wasn't having like a sleepover that night, I would immediately pick up my phone, you know, one of those phones that we see in this show connected to the wall, you know, and I would call my friends up and we would have discussions about what we just watched. And that discussion would carry over throughout, you know, the week and, you know, until the next episode. But then what I'd also do is before each new episode, I would watch like the previous 2 or 3 episodes before 10 o'clock at night, especially when it was on Saturday nights. And so I kind of like would watch the last 2 and then watch the new one. And it was just wonderful just being in that world and having friends and stuff that loved being there as well. I'm not in touch with a lot of those people anymore. It's sad to say. So in a way, this is the same type of thing, only it's just much more broader. Instead of us talking to 1 or 2 people, we're talking to the whole world here. And that's a wonderful, wonderful thing to have you guys all here. I feel like we're all in one giant, big living room, all watching Twin Peaks together, all digging this show and just having the time of our lives. And we're only 5 episodes in. We got 13 more to go. Can't wait. So that's absolutely wonderful. And yeah, everybody's having a great time too. I know for a lot of you, it's the middle of the night. So again, I thank you so much for tuning in. Leonard says, yeah, this is the online water cooler. Well, someplace has to be. I mean, I'm looking around online and man, I mean, there's other YouTube videos. I mentioned this yesterday. There's other YouTube videos and websites that are talking about Twin Peaks, but they're not talking about it like we're talking about it. And when they do talk about it, they seem to be like a week or so behind everything we're saying. So we're definitely, I feel like, on the forefront of all the Twin Peaks discussions. And, you know, I couldn't do it without you guys. I mean, I'm stating my opinions, but you guys are all stating yours. And it's wonderful that we're just all just kind of riffing off each other and having just seriously the time of our lives. It's wonderful. And it's very humbling and amazing that we're all in this together.